Well, hi. Today is Tuesday, September 23rd, 2025. I'm Todd Studer, and this is Morning Coffee. Today, we have a special episode. We're going to be speaking with one of the Council Bluffs mayoral candidates. His name is Chris Peterson. He currently sits on the city council for Council Bluffs. However, because he would have been up for re-election this year and he can only run for one office, he can't run for two, that means that he's kind of all in with this mayoral race, and that he's not going to be sitting on the city council next year, regardless of what happens during the mayoral contest. So Chris Peterson is our guest today on Morning Coffee. He's coming up very shortly after we tell you about that navigating the healthcare system is challenging, frustrating, and time-consuming for you and your family. That's where Miners Healthcare in Council Bluffs steps in. Nurse advocates providing one-on-one guidance and support every step of the way. Visit minershealthcare.com. Let them take the stress out of healthcare. Local author Carol Horner wrote a book called The Spiral of Accountability, and this is if you're feeling stuck in uncertainty, conflict, or miscommunication. It helps us be able to communicate better with each other, and what a better time to read this book. I can't think of one. Learn how to recognize negative cycles, shift your mindset, and build a culture of clarity and collaboration at work, at home, and in life. You can find her book on our website, spiralofaccountability.com, also available on Amazon. And since 1870, Avila Bank has been providing Iowans with high-quality financial products and services to fit their needs. If you need a loan, would like to start a new business account, maybe you're saving money for a trip, or just looking to open a personal checking account, Avila's qualified bankers can help you with all that and more. Visit avila.bank to learn more. With us this morning, it is a candidate for mayor in Council Bluffs. This is Chris Peterson. Good morning, sir. Good to see you.
Good morning. Thanks for having me, Todd.
Let's talk about your background a little bit. I mean, you went to school here in Council Bluffs. You've been around for a while, right?
Yep. We, as a family, we relocated here when I was 3. And so I've been here 40 years, attended Gunn Elementary on North Broadway there, and moved on to Kern Junior High at the time. Now it's middle school. And then I graduated from Abraham Lincoln in 2000.
Oh, you're old enough where they still called it junior high then.
Absolutely. My kids correct me all the time because I still call it junior high.
I'm old enough to where high school baseball in Iowa, the high school was still called the Babe Ruth League.
Oh, yeah, that was well before my time.
That goes back a little ways. As you have been here for a long time, obviously you've got a passion for public service. Where do you think that came from?
I was thinking about that yesterday when I was driving back from work. My mom was a school teacher. She taught at Canesville and then later at AL. So she taught behavior disorders and some of those special education. And my dad, I would say, was a philanthropic lawyer. He represented people with no money to little money, would do things on trade. And he kind of always went against the grain, and he ran for county attorney at one point just to kind of buck the system because he saw things that needed change. So I was thinking about that, and in a roundabout way, watching my mom teach those youth and then my dad just helping people, it kind of led me to a human services background. I've always volunteered with the Special Olympics in college and a program called Buddy Baseball. We taught kids with disabilities how to play the game, but it really stems back from my parents, if you think back about it, because I hadn't really thought about it in a long time, and just their ability to serve people.
And you jumped into the city council race. You've been on the council now for 4 years. Would have been up for re-election this year if you had chosen that, but you decided to go a different route. So what was involved in that process as you made that call for yourself?
It's been a lot of years coming. I've set goals throughout my life. When I moved back to this community and I got into the nonprofit field serving at risk and impoverished youth and families, I started to see the struggles that they went through. And I was a young adult moving back to town. I really didn't pay much attention. And going through those trials and tribulations and being on a few boards, I started saying, hey, if we want to make real change, we can't talk about it on the internet or just in passing. We got to do something about it. So that led me to city council. And then being on council, You just start to see things a little different. We get stuck in our ways. And what I saw that we could make some changes, leadership wise, policy wise, just refresh with fresh ideas for the city of Council Bluffs. And it was a great experience for 4 years. I learned a lot from other councilmen and the mayor. Um, I just think moving Council Bluffs forward, we are at the right time in our community to change directions.
You mentioned more than just talking on the internet, but the irony to that is that's how you reach people now. It's everything is pretty much on the internet. I say it all the time. We live in a TikTok world, and we're all absorbing information and content 30 seconds at a time.
Yeah, we do. And, my wife made me a TikTok page, so I'm the TikTok mayor. I don't post on it as much as I should because that's just me. To me, TikTok was dancing. But, you touch base on that social media platform. During this campaign, I've seen just the nonpareil get such a bad rap. That was our source of information my entire life, whether it be the box score of our high school game or other high schools. And, it's a different form of media now. I think people are going to more the online side and they want more from the non-pro, but at the same time, the model in which they're reporting has changed. So social media is where they're getting all their information, whether it's accurate or not. But we need instant gratification, instant information, and everybody's saying there's not a lot of information out there on any candidate. But you know, I've found that with a little digging, I mean, you can find just about as much as you want as far as our candidates in this race.
Yeah, we can go diving down a rabbit hole when it comes to media. I mean, I've been
Yeah.
in it for, decades, and I've seen the changes because when I got into it, I did not have an email address. And that wasn't a thing. The internet existed, but everybody was getting on it on Prodigy. I don't know if you remember that site or not, but
Yep.
that's how folks were getting on the internet. And there really wasn't that much out there. And since then, it has exploded. My first email address was, I think, in 1999 was when I got a Yahoo email address, and so it's just been growing since then. And yeah, media has been slow, I think, to make that shift, but they are making the shift. And the Nonpareil is one of them. I mean, they are our local newspaper. And uh, just because the circulation is down with the physical paper, because people just don't do it that way anymore, they are still out there. And I got a lot of respect for the people that are grinding and doing that. Side note, I think they're woefully understaffed, but
Yeah, I
that's,
would say.
that's part of the problem is that there's just not enough people out there doing it anymore. So when you're doing a campaign, you have to look at how to reach people effectively. I'm sure you got a budget, that you've got a certain amount of money that you can allocate here or there. I've seen your signs up in yards, so I know that you're doing that route, which is kind of traditional. I would assume you're going to go the mailer route. You've been out talking to people. What have you found that has been the most effective in reaching people? I'm not talking about maybe the most effective in getting your message out, but people being able to hear from you. What's worked the best for you?
That traditional door knocking and setting meetings. But, at the same time, the younger generation of voters, the social media platforms, that's how I engage people. And that's how I set a lot of the in-person meetings. A lot of my conversations or messages, we go back and forth. I'm like, hey, let's just meet. So I still really like the in-person meeting because they get to know the person. Um, I really don't think there's one specific strategy. I know the older generation, my mom and my dad, they want to see you face to face. They want to have a conversation, not even on the phone. So that's where that door knocking aspect comes in. And the younger generation, they just want that instant gratification. They want to know about you. They want to know now. So really, you have to be creative. And then, a traditional form like tonight, I'm going to be in the TJ homecoming parade. I'll be on the TJ side, even though I'm an AL grad, but that kind of goes back to serving those families all those years. I don't cheer for one specific team in this town. I cheer for everybody. I've probably donated more money to TJ than I have my school and where my kids go to school now because I worked with those kids and I saw the need down there. And so I'll be in that parade tonight and excited, going to catch a little bit of that game. I'll be secretly rooting for AL, but I'm cheering for the city in this one because it's a staple to this community. I went as a kid, and AL and TJ would get beat by 50 points
Mm-hmm.
when they played in the Metro Conference, and they knew when AL and TJ played, one team was going to get their one, possibly two wins of the season. So going in that parade, and that's more for the kids tonight, but that helps get the message out, and that's that community involvement piece that I think we have started to lack in areas.
I can remember going back to my KMA days and working in the late '90s, coming up here to do ball games, and I didn't really understand the division in the schools back then because it was pretty sharp divides of if you're one school, you're not supporting any of the other ones. And the fact that you're talking about this, to me, I find encouraging because I've been wanting this for a long time. Look, I get having rivalries and I get having getting spirited ball games and things like that, but at the end we are all Council Bluffs, and that I I would love to be able to get to that point where we can still respect each other, depending on, it doesn't matter what school we went to.
Absolutely. And, the youth sports model has changed, but growing up playing youth sports, we played with kids all over the community. And then we went to our junior highs. But I'd tell you what, some of my closest and dearest lifelong friends that I still talk to, some I coach with, went to Wilson and Thomas Jefferson. And my kids are like, how do you know that person? I'm like, I played ninth grade tackle football with him, and some of them had interesting life paths and have come back and gotten their stuff together. And, one thing about it is loyalty. I mean, I never, they never wavered from me. I never wavered from them. And we have gotten away from that. So those are some of my cherished experiences hanging out down with some of those kids from other schools. And even in high school, we would play each other and we would want to win. And, we'd probably play a little dirty, but after the game, we were hanging out, probably cruising Broadway.
I have also noticed that with what I have seen you doing online and on social media and different places, that there's a positivity in your message that you're putting out and not diving into the negative side of things. With politics, it's a magnet for that type. And I've seen you doing something different with that. Talk about your thoughts and your philosophy as to how you're presenting your message.
That positivity part is exactly kind of who I am. Those who know me know who I am at the core, and those who don't, they judge, and that's okay. I mean, we're a judgmental society, and now more than ever, especially during my council term, we're so divided as a country, but we come back, we are divided as a city, and there's a lot of hate on both sides of the spectrum on what people believe in, whether it's politically or the hot button issues. And we've got to preach love in Council Bluffs because we're all one. We're a community, and there's just no place for it. You have to have thick skin. I know there's some other candidates that are getting attacked, and I feel for them because, I get attacked as well, and you want to say something back, but what am I teaching my kids and the future generation of leaders in Council Bluffs if I'm going to snap back and go down to that level and attack somebody? So when that comes my way, I try to educate, because there's a lot of people that didn't know what I did in this community for 15 years. So they thought I was just making blanket statements uneducated. And that's why I tried to explain to them who I am, what I'm about. And at the end of the day, they may not agree with me, but if they want to go have lunch and have a conversation about anything, that's kind of who I am. That's what I do for a living. I talk to people. So that negative part, you can get sucked into that, but that's just not something I've been interested in. And working with youth and different people, it's just kind of been my path because it's a hard hole to dig out of.
That's very true. And I'm guilty of it, going back however many years of getting into those comment section arguments.
Absolutely.
Which tell me if you have ever seen the comment under anything where it said, "Wow, I never looked at it that way. I see your point." Ever see that? Because I never have.
No, you don't. But sometime when you get off social media or you get off wherever you're at and you're in your your car, you do say it to yourself. I mean, you should say it to yourself because you learn a lot from adversity and those comments where, wow, I just never stopped to think about it that way.
No, you don't see it online, but you do see it or hear it anyway if you're sitting across the table from somebody having a cup of coffee.
Yep.
At that point, you will hear it.
And that I think that's one of the most unique things about just campaigning, but just being a resident. That's my dad, I think, is probably between the TA down there by the South Expressway and the McDonald's on 16th and G has probably had a 500,000 cups of coffee with clients and people. And his car is still down there every morning. And that's where it's at, the conversation. I'll pop in there and even when when I'm not campaigning and meet these people, and then I run into them, poke, hey, I have coffee with your dad. But that conversation piece, and I think I get that from him too. It's human interaction can't be a lost art. It is probably one of the most gratifying things you get in life. And I have conversations when I travel for work. I ask random questions to random citizens about their city, their town, and then we just chit chat for a while. And then they ask me where I'm from. I said Council Bluffs, and then some of them, they really love the city, and the ones make their comments, and then I give them a little education on you should come see us. We're a great place. We're a destination city, but we need to get back to that human touch, that interpersonal communication.
Yeah, I've said that too. That for those that are not living in Council Bluffs and talk about whatever old image that they may have in their head, say, come on over. We'll grab a cup of coffee. I'll take you on a tour. Show you what's actually happening here. Show you some of the different places that have been growth, our parks, our, at the Hoff Center or River's Edge, or all the different developments that have happened. Let's take a look. I'll show you what Council Bluffs is. Yeah, we got problems. Of course we do. Every place has problems. But if you focus on that without looking at the positive, then all you see is the negative, and you just think that that's 100% of what there is. And that doesn't work for me. That's why I have this show and why my approach to it is.
Yeah, and it doesn't work for me either. I mean, if you go around Council Bluffs with me, you're probably going to get stuck in a history tour. That's kind of how we grew up, the history of the river, the history of the Les Hills, trees. I mean, that's credit to my dad. But the story of Council Bluffs is nothing short of amazing. The trials, the tribulations, the failures, the major successes. We've spent millions on our parks, millions. And we have a fantastic park system. And the only thing that you hear is, there's people in the park, there's trash in the park, and which is true. But if you just take a step back, I grew up in all those parks. They're near and dear to my heart. So when I see them evolve and change, I see it a different way. Yes, I don't like to spend millions of dollars on a park renovation or approve that on council and watch it fall by the wayside. But I think you can still enjoy our parks without having to deal with the random stuff. So it's you're correct in saying you can drive them around and show them all the successes, and you can talk about the failures as well, because that's what makes the community. That's the fabric of how we got to where we are today.
Well, there's a simple solution to that trash issue that you're talking about. I did this once. I was up at Fairmont, which, by the way, is one of my favorite parks in town.
I love that place.
And there was they've got a couple of trash cans up there, and there's a bunch of trash laying around the base of it. And I just stopped and picked it up and threw it. I didn't even have to move very far. I just put it back in the trash can. And some guy was coming up off the trail, and he said, "Oh, I can't believe I just saw that." And the fact that he was so shocked to see me doing that was kind of telling to me that it's not that big of a deal. Pick it up. It took me 30 seconds and I had that whole area, because I didn't have to take it anywhere. There's a trash can right there.
Yeah, you're right. and I have two stories to that. They're not long ones, but one was a gentleman. He said he was playing pickleball at Cochran Park with his daughter, and there was trash everywhere. And he just started picking it up, and he talked to the people that were hanging out in the park. Hey, why don't you help us?
Mm-hmm.
And I love hearing that. And I've always kind of been a guy that's picked up trash, but the one that really kind of solidified it, and I will say his name, Charles Lakin, has done a lot for this community, the Lakin Foundation.
Sure.
He was a multimillionaire. And I was walking from his car to the entrance of Boys and Girls Club, and some trash blew by. And he stopped and he kind of leaned on me and he picked it up. And this guy, here's a multimillionaire businessman, super successful, stops to pick up trash and he goes to me, he goes, never let the trash blow by. Doesn't matter how successful you are, always pick it up and throw it away. And that one stuck because I was like, this guy, he takes pride in everything. I mean, he's philanthropic, but how many millionaires will stop to pick up garbage?
That saying and just in itself can go that can lean into a whole lot more than just picking up trash. Never let the trash blow by. That's a title of a book.
You're absolutely right, because it's kind of a profound memory that I was young and forming this relationship and down there on the campus, and I just thought it was cool to pick an old timer's brain that was super successful. And I went out to his car to grab some. Oh, we grabbed a case of apples because his wife Florence always made sure when they came to Boys and Girls Club they brought a case of apples. That's what we were getting, and he stopped to pick up trash, and that's just kind of a message to people in the community what you can do, because after that, 3 times a year, we went out and did campus cleanup with the club kids, and the amount of trash that we picked up was crazy. And then we made it into a contest, but it was a life lesson. Don't litter. Take pride in your city. Take pride where you're at, because if we trash where we're at, then we don't. That's how nice, shiny new things become old and unused.
Let's talk about some of the issues that you see that are affecting the city of Council Bluffs, and what you, as an elected mayor, would do to counter some of that.
Well, we'll start off light. It's not a light issue, but housing.
Sure, yeah.
We right now we have over, and I don't want to get deep into statistics that they're going to get thrown out all over, but we have about 2,700 apartment units that are in the queue or being built. But the challenge of those is their market rate. A lot of them are more than a mortgage that people are paying, and they're going to be nice. And there's a little set aside. We do have some affordable units, but when you say affordable housing, it's not typically affordable if you look at the average family income in Council Bluffs. So we have to be unique and intentional. We have city lots and surplus lots, but I'm going to collaborate with the 712 initiative. I'm a big Habitat for Humanity guy. I believe in their mission. I believe in their CEO. Working with them, seeing what we can do as a city to find funding to fill in those gaps in those properties. And there are different housing models. Clay County, Iowa was devastated by a flood, and I think we talked about it. And right outside of town, because they wanted to get rid of the FEMA trailers, they built neighborhood slab on grade, really nice houses. They were almost like modular homes, but they didn't look modular. Great neighborhood. I'm trying to find some time to go up there and talk to the builder. I drove by it for work several times, and then I switched projects. But there are models out there we can get our residents in semi-affordable housing, because every issue we have really leads into our biggest issue, which is homelessness. And I'll touch base on that in just a second. But housing is a huge one. Crime, we are at an all-time high. Statistics may show you it's down. The residents, just talk to them. CB Scanner, you can read through that. I mean, but talk to the residents about crime. And we've seen more crime. It's been an uptick. I remember when the casinos got here, my grandma lived on 35th and 9th, and she got robbed, and she had a 20-foot walk to her house. My older brother and I were just flabbergasted that this could happen in Council Bluffs. And now it's a regular thing. So with the crime, I've talked to some other police agencies in the state, and I don't want to tip my hat completely. I don't want to give out ideas and have them taken. But I had a chance and call with a former officer on the CVPD, and then I stopped for lunch in a community, and I saw what I thought was a police officer and read his badge or his patch, and I asked him to have lunch with it. And there's a policing model where it's going to be affordable, but they will go out and do the small, tedious tasks. We need to get our police back to policing. Spending 3 hours on abandoned cars or stalled cars, theft with no suspect, crimes with no suspect. Our officers are being inundated by these calls to the shelter for safety. They can't police as much as they used to. And the model I'm looking at, I talked to the lieutenant, it's been there 20 years. The police officers were really upset at first. Hey, they're taking our job. Now the police officers are upset when those additional officers don't come to help, because we've got to change a model somewhere, because the citizens are fed up with the crime. We just have to show them that we're being proactive. We got a really great police force. The city has always been really supportive, but up until this campaign, this is the most negative energy I've felt towards police. My brother-in-law is a police officer in Omaha. My brother's a police officer in Des Moines, so public safety is near and dear to my heart. So we got to look at it from a budgetary standpoint. Everybody's short officers, but there are different models in the state of Iowa that we can bring to the table here in Council Bluffs to say, number one, save on budget, get our police back to policing. It's the culture change, the mindset. You're going to hear a lot about culture change. And the crime's not all, I feel the homeless do get a bad rap. The crime's not all the homeless people. And there's a lot of people that are committing crimes in the city that actually have beds, they have homes. Mental health and addiction is huge, and we need more funding from the state on that. So that's one thing. Going to lean in on the legislators, the local legislators. They got to go to Des Moines and fight on some key issues. But homelessness is probably the one that we're hearing the most of. When I started at Boys and Girls Club in 2008, 2009, very uneducated about it. We were down the street from the shelter, so I educated myself, because I had homeless people sitting around the facility, and I have kids and families coming. It's a safety thing. So I had to educate myself and deal with it firsthand and learn about it. But it was being talked about it in small circles, but not talked about it in larger circles. So I think we really let it go for 20 years, like a lot of cities, and now here we are. We're at a breaking point. It can go one way or the other. You're not going to cure homelessness. I want to combat it. I made a post, and a lot of people, it was controversial, because I went out with our HOP officers. It's a call to order to our nonprofits, who are great, to find the gaps. I want to get these people the help that aren't from this community, to get them help so they can go back to their communities, because Iowa traditionally has higher services. And right now we have a vacancy sign open for homeless services. And that's not a knock on those agencies. It's just, when you ask people, where are you from? Why are you here? They'll tell you, I'm from such and such place. Why are you here? Oh, you guys are nice to us. And I've heard that for 20 years. And that stuck with me. Like, I get it. Okay, we're Iowa nice, but our services are being depleted. And it's at the cost of our taxpayers now. So there's some solutions. I want to work with a shelter. I just toured the one in Des Moines, and they are the gold standard. Des Moines has a homeless issue as well. But you'll talk to people in the parks, like Bonson Park. We don't play baseball there anymore on my son's team, because I don't want to bring people over from Omaha and give them any fodder to take back. Oh, they were running homeless people out of the park, typical Council Bluffs. But if you ask those people, why are you in the park? The majority of the time you'll hear, I don't feel safe staying at the shelter. Because it's a low barrier. You can come in intoxicated. You can come in on high weapons. But in Des Moines, they have a controlled entry and access point. They get frisked. Guns get confiscated. They go to the police. Knives get given back when they leave. It's all controlled entry and access. So there's a level of accountability when you go into that shelter. And the ones that don't want to follow it, adhere to it, they leave. And they have a low barrier shelter. They have a drunk tank, as she said. But they've got to change their culture and the way they do business down there, so we can start to change ours, because the citizens, we're really divided on this topic. There's the ones that want to get them help, but if you talk to the taxpayers on the West End, their taxes are at an all-time high, and they feel like they're being terrorized. And our HOP unit, walking around with them, those guys are fantastic, but they're policing the homeless, but they're tasked with cleaning up camps. They're becoming garbage men. And that was eye-opening to me. We need more groups to go help them with the garbage. We have 2 HOP officers being garbage men. So we've got to get everybody to the table and collaborate, but the city has got to draw a hard line and set some boundaries and expectations. This is what we need from you so we can move forward. Because if we don't, and we take that nice approach, we're going to be at a point of no return, and the city that we know and love is going to go I feel it's going to go the wrong direction. So I may get a bad rap of taking a hard stance on homelessness. I'm compassionate towards them, but we haven't had any of these conversations, and now they're just happening with our administration. Let's be real, folks. It's this conversation can't be swept under the rug. Former Mayor Tom Hannafin, I had a conversation with him a long time ago before I was on city council, and he brought it up to me. And, it's just been our dirty little secret, and you'll hear that. So there's going to be some solutions there, but tough conversations have to be happening. And people are upset with some of the things I've said, but I'm going to stand by them. I want to get people help, but I'm here for the taxpayers and the citizens of Council Bluffs, not people that are from all over the country that got stranded here or came here for services. I'm all for them getting help, but who's helping our citizens? That's the question that people need to ask themselves, because they're not talking to the people on the West End or around the homeless shelter or the business owners. So there's compassion on both sides, but the taxpayers are the ones that are suffering. So that's kind of my long-winded talk on homelessness. And then economic development, interstate's done. We're poised for just an uptick. Sarpy and Douglas County are running out of room. We've got room to grow and expand. We have some light industrial that we've approved north via Western, some things coming in. We've just got to have a sign up. We're open for business. I've heard that we're difficult to work with. That's not the message that you get from the city, but I hear from developers and other people that are from around the state that you guys are tough to work with. And that blows my mind. Like, when people want to, we don't want to give it away, and we have to with TIFs and things like that. But when someone comes in from out of town, we need to take care of them, have those good conversations. So when they leave, hey, they really tried to work with me in Council Bluffs, because if you wrong one person, they go tell 10. You do one person right, they tell one person. So we've got to have that stance. Here we are. Come take a look at Council Bluffs. We're a great landing spot for your business. But we also have to take care of our small businesses. They're the fabric in which this community was built on. You go back to the beginning days, the Hunter Block. I mean, that's our small business owners are important. And my wife and I are small business owners. And we've got to grow our small business owners, let them have additional shops, make changes to their businesses and things like that without jamming them up. Every call I've gotten in 4 years on city council, it's been a complaint from a small business owner, the majority of them. And some of it's common sense. If we can do it legally, we need to do it. So those are the big ones. The budget, we're all running out of money. And I think my nonprofit background is going to be key here. I only had so much money to make a facility work and pay salaries. And I know how to scrape line by line and find out where we can move it and how we can move it, because it's moving forward. Every city's going through this. So we have to be creative with our budget, and there's going to be, I don't want to lay people off. That's the last thing I would want to do, but we're trending in an area where we're going to have to make tough decisions. So being fiscally responsible is always going to be on there. I mean, I'm a penny pincher. I get accused of it at home all the time, but it's about being practical, needs and wants, and what we can grow. And then roads, this, everybody knows this. We talk about it. The gas tax, the road use tax isn't enough. We keep putting money in the bucket, but our bucket has a hole in it, So we got to communicate on what roads we're working on. And that's the big piece, communication. There's roads that we know that are going to be repaired after we're done moving dirt trucks for the levee and whatnot, but the citizens don't know that. So we need to communicate that. But there's some different taxing options I've been kicking around. We've got to find alternative funds, and people hate when I say that, but I can't come out here and say, we're going to do this to get the funds, because it may not be there. But in the nonprofit world, there's grants, and you have to be creative, because we can't sustain our roads. We have over 600 miles of roads, and the money just doesn't keep up. So,
no, you talk about just the road issue, and this was something that I learned earlier this year, and something I never really thought about is, and I've talked about it many times, that Council Bluffs to me is the biggest small town in Iowa. I've said that on this show so many times, because that's how it feels. But we are, as far as communities of a population that we have, we're spread out. And we have a lot of area that we have to cover, but we don't have the tax base with the citizens in order to be able to pay for all of that. And I learned this earlier this year, and it wasn't something that I ever considered. You take a look at a city the size of Ankeny, and I call it a city because that's how it feels when you go to Ankeny. It doesn't feel like a small
100%.
town there.
I'm in Ankeny once a week. Yeah,
right. So
it's a city.
but we're really similar in population size. It's not. There's a difference, but it's not a huge difference.
Correct.
But they're more compact, and they aren't covering as wide of an area that we are. And I don't know how to fix that. Obviously, you want to get new homes in, you want to increase the population, and that in theory is going to help with that. But there's so many moving pieces to get all of that happening. And so that, to me, Council Bluffs is unique in that way, that we have so much area, but not a population and a tax base enough to cover all of those expenses.
Yeah. And and that's the issue. And, I find it funny, and not funny, but Council Bluffs has grown and it's so spread out. But we've had leadership, and this is not a knock on former Mayor Tom Hanifin or Mayor Matt Walsh. They've been our two leaders for 40 years, and that vision and that plan was to grow and sprawl Council Bluffs. And now it's like, whoa, we're too sprawled out. Let's rein it in. Let's build up. So it's kind of it's a unique model. We've gotten to a point, let's grow and expand. And now it's like, okay, we're too expanded. We got to bring it back in. So we do have to get unique in that sense, but we're still growing to the east. If we could grow west, we would.
That turn us into Venice, I guess, is the only way to do that, right?
And north's tough to grow because the marsh and the wetlands and I-29 and the topography of the Less Hills, and south is pretty much just going to be industrial. So we do kind of have our topography does make it weird, but that's when different and forward thinking has to come out, because the way we've been planning and what we've been doing for all these years has got us to where we're at. So it's a hard look on what we can do different, because if you really look at it, we're still planning on going east. We have a 2 and 3 mile growth ring, and that's going to continue to happen. But we have to have more people at the table with different and unique ideas.
Well, Chris, I'm grateful that you've taken some time today to fill us in. There's a lot of things in there that I know that people would like to have conversations with you about, and I know you're out there talking to people. We've got some forums coming up in the community where all of the candidates will be there. Just before we wrap up here, I just wanted to, if you have it, just kind of give me your elevator pitch about here's why you want people to vote for Chris Peterson for mayor.
The reason you should vote Chris Peterson for mayor is I am a common sense candidate. I love to talk to people. I am a man of the people. Council Bluffs is in my DNA. For me, this isn't about power. This isn't about my name and lights. This is about the citizens. I've always said people over politics. Let's give the city back to the citizens. Let's get them a seat at the table. We've got to change direction, and I'm the guy to change the direction. Fresh perspectives, collaborations with any and everybody. It's going to take a village to right this ship. We're trending down. So I'm willing to put the work in. I'll be in my office when I'm supposed to, but I want to be out with the people. I want to be out with the employees. You'll see me. That's what it's about. This can be a people-driven growth and success rate in Council Bluffs. It doesn't have to be the status quo, the same old business. We've got to change our model. We've had 40 years of leadership doing the same business model, and businesses that don't change their model go out of business. So the ultimate reason you should vote for Chris Peterson for mayor is I'm going to put the work in, and we're going to right this ship, and we're going to make Council Bluffs the beautiful gem that I believe it is. And it's been that way a long time. And we just got to show people, like I said, we're open for business. We're Council Bluffs, Iowa. Get excited and come here, because that's what it's going to take.
Thank you very much for your time. I'm grateful that you jumped on here with me, and just wish you continued success as you head on down the campaign path, regardless of the outcome. Anybody that's willing to stick their neck out the way that all the candidates are. And,
absolutely.
Because you're inviting, the online negativity is just an onslaught. And that's not an arena I want to operate in. So I have a lot of respect for everybody that is willing to step out and do that. So grateful for you.
Thank you. As do I. I got a lot of respect for the candidates. I think we got good candidates, but the big thing is you got to come out and vote, guys, if you want to see change.
That is it. Thank you much, sir.
Thank you. Take care. Thanks for having me.
Don't forget, the primary election in Council Bluffs is coming up on October 7th, where the top 2 mayoral candidates will move through on to the general election in November. This is your opportunity to have your voice heard. And what we are wanting to do here on this show is just be a conduit for the voices that are running. Let them tell you who they are. And then that way, you can make an informed decision for yourself. So again, thank you to Chris Peterson for being a guest on today's show. S&B Country Kennel has become the top spot for Southwest Iowa when you need to know your dog will receive only the best. Whether it's boarding, daycare, grooming, self-washing, training, or even a membership, available to a dog park over an acre in size. S&B Country Kennel also has rescue dogs, so check with them about adoption possibilities. You can learn more on their website, sbcountrykennel.com. That's country spelled with a K. They're located just west of I-29 on Bunkie Avenue, south of Council Bluffs. Just Sue Creative can help you build your business with website design, search engine optimization, content creation, marketing, and everything you need to take your company to the next level. Sue has a passion for small businesses, helping them thrive in this digital world. A great starting point is by visiting her website, justsuecreative.com. There, you'll find a button that says free consultation. Click on that. Find a time that works for you, and you're off and running. JustSueCreative.com. And technology should work for you, not against you. At ThinkSpace IT, they provide expert IT solutions to keep your business running smoothly and securely. From cybersecurity and cloud services to network management and tech support, they simplify IT so you can focus on what matters most. Stay protected, stay connected, stay ahead. Visit ThinkSpaceIT.com. That's going to wrap up today's show. We have more candidates, both for the mayor's race and city council, coming up on the show. We're very grateful for all the candidates for their willingness to run and also for their willingness to be on this show to tell you what it is that they look for here in the city of Council Bluffs. That's going to wrap up today's show. Thank you so much for watching. My name's Todd Studer. We'll see you back here tomorrow morning.